Hello everybody. Today we're going to make some compost tea. So we've put about 80 litres of water into this bucket, and I've used a hot water supply from the sun and some rainwater. It's in excess overflowing from a barrel, and lo and behold, even a bit of dam water. So that's at a sort of tepid temperature. It's just the same as the air, which is good. This is what we want, because the same microbes are going to flourish that will survive in this time of year in the soil. So I'm going to get some of this water and mix some compost with it. This is where I put that. Don't be surprised. Oh, it's got Argentina. It's breeding in it. That's not good. I'm sure they won't do too much trouble though, because I'm about to drown them. Now, this also has fungi growing in it, apart from billions of ants. The fungi is actually, from a mushroom box, an edible mushroom box. So this fungi is probably a edible Basidiomyces. And there are also some earthworms in there. And what I do is mix ground up grains and I add a cupful to this size compost, the compost is actually a mixture of worm castings and mature, it's got to be mature, thermo compost or hot compost. The worm castings are it's from a cold compost. So this is full of fungi, which is what we want to get into the soil. So I'm going to take all those ants and fungi, earthworms and all. I'm going to take about half that green container. Every time I'll take half, and I'll replace the half with new compost. So the mycelium will grow into the new half. And I'll leave it for a week. It just gets a lot more fungus into your compost tea to pre-activate it with some grains. So there it all is in the, so are the ants, snip and tramp ants, in the same temperature water as the air temperature of the current week. And I'm going to gently agitate this, being mindful that there is fungal complexes, very delicate. Actually, they're pretty tenacious. They're clinging onto the soil particles and making big soil aggregates. That's what they do in the soil. They bind small particles together into big particles, and therefore you get the structure in the soil. You get the air and water passageways deep into the soil. So the plant roots want air, they want moisture, and the fungus, as well as all the other members of the soil food web, help create that structure that gets air and water down into the soil. And instead of rainwater running off, 80% of most rainfall runs off into the sea. But with an improved soil with higher carbon, it's more like a sponge. And the fungal component is full of water. And in winter, in our wet winter, dry summer, we're very brittle climate here. We have 8 months without rain, very hot. And we're hoping to get this soil structure built very quickly now. We're in early spring. In about 3-4 months' time, we'll go into our dry season. And I would like the soil to be full of fungi by then. We're in we're in spring, which is a warm, wet time of year, and it's the only time of year we can hope to build the soil food web in the soil, introduce the critters and get them to actually survive and thrive in the soil. wouldn't put this mixture out on the soil in the baking hot sun in dry conditions. They would just die. So gently agitating this as much as we can, breaking up ever so gently the lumps. I'm now going to sieve it. We can sieve it into this blue barrel and start the air pump. If you'd like to focus on the air pump, please, John. Two of them. Two little aquarium pumps, really. We want as much air in this compost tea brewer as possible. It should be like a rolling boil, and we haven't achieved it with these two aquarium pumps going. Really, we could do better. We could buy a bigger pump, but it is doing an adequate job. And we only had the little one at first in a 20 litre bucket, which is like one of those white buckets with a blue lid. And it seemed to have a marvellous effect on plants, even though it wasn't very aerated. If you should just put the compost into the water before very long, if you didn't have aeration going, if you didn't have a pump going, you would have an anaerobic tea very quickly. We want to keep the oxygen content over 6%. Here goes. And while that just drains, I'll turn on the power. Earthworms surprisingly will not mind at all being in a barrel of water as long as it's well aerated. They'll survive that. But I don't really want to, they're not going to actually do anything for my tea, and they'd be much better for me to be working in the compost heap making more humic acid than floating around in a compost barrel to be sieved out later. They probably would find it a little bit scary, but they do survive for a long, long time as long as the water is aerated. Now I'm going to run this brewer for just 24 hours. Trying to see that, but we'll see it in a minute because that'll just drain. And I'm going to take some of this and add some fungal foods to it. So the fungal foods we use are in this bucket. Pan over here, please. Too. We have kelp powder. I'm going to use this as a measuring device. For that barrel,